28 Years Later is directed by Danny Boyle, who helmed 28 Days Later. I'm not acting like I'm a huge fan of this franchise because I was never really interested or never really watched it until a few weeks before 28 Years Later came out. So I watched them, really like 28 Days Later. I really hate 28 Weeks Later. And with 28 Years Later, I'm kind of split on it. I definitely think it's good, but I'm not super hot on it like a lot of people are. I just think it's good. And I'm not going to have a whole lot to say on it in this video. I just want to go through a few talking points, the production, and my overall enjoyment of the film. I think the film looks really damn good. It was shot on whatever iPhone was new at the time. As good as the film can look at points and as ethereal it can feel with a lot of these like wide scopes that we have, especially a certain moment when characters are running through a water area and it's nighttime and it's all starry at night, and it like that moment is like probably the best scene of the film, and it looks really awesome, especially paired with the music used in that scene. There are a lot of moments in the film where I can tell that, oh yeah, this is filmed on an iPhone or this is filmed on a phone, because we're really zoomed in at a lot of moments and it looks kind of pixelated and blurry, and I really don't know if it was supposed to be intentional or they were just like an oversight. Or there's a lot of moments where we're like kind of auto-focusing on certain moments in shots, or like weird zoom-ins. And I don't know, a lot of those moments feel like kind of distracting and like, oh yeah, this is the part where it's shot on an iPhone that I can tell it's shot on an iPhone. But outside of that, I think it's a really damn good looking film. It's really sharp and crisp. A lot of those moments just look like, wow, this I couldn't tell if this was like shot on the iPhone or if it was a regular camera, but it's all shot on an iPhone. For whatever effect, I'm not sure. But I know they wanted to do it for these certain moments when we see zombies getting shot at and blood splurting out of them. They have this rig set up on the production where there's a bunch of iPhones set up and they're all rolling at the same time. And what happens is, like, when a zombie gets shot and blood splatters, we see images, like we see like the recording stopped, and we take time to go this shot, this shot, this shot, this shot, this shot, all in like a 180 sort of pan, and we see all the shots, da, 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 da. Not like how Matrix, where we like it's super smooth, more so just like da, ba, 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 really rapid. And those moments felt kind of distracting and video gamey to me. It felt like it belonged in like House of the Dead from Uwe Boll, you know? And I know a lot of people rave about those moments, but I thought they were kind of distracting because why? What's the point of it? And it just makes me feel like, oh yeah, this was this is the iPhone rig shot moment, and it's just kind of distracting and out of place. The special effects and the gore and the makeup on the zombies are really damn good. They really feel like they're old and weathered and paled and just disgusting looking creatures, especially when there's like blood just splurting out whenever they get shot at. I think it's really cool. And you can tell a lot of effort and time was put into that because there's a lot of zombies in here and a lot of them are naked. So definitely a lot of time had to go into making bodies just look old and withered and sort of saggy, you know? Especially if these zombies are really old, especially with what's introduced in this film, how these zombies have mutated and evolved over the past 28 years. And I think the film was more interesting than entertaining because the second half of the film is where a lot of the more interesting moments arise, especially when we get introduced to Ray Fiennes' character. And that's one of the things that I'm kind of split on in the film, because the first and second half of the film are very two different movies. And I'm not sure which one I like more, because the first half is the more entertaining part of the film, and the second half is the more interesting part of the film. And I just wish the whole film was just a fun and good mixture of both of those ideas. The first half of the film is more action-packed, and there's more killing zombies and blood and insanity. The second half is more interesting and philosophical and questioning about what happened with the zombies and what happened in the past 28 years and what happened to the outside world, because as far as we know, the rest of the world just moved on and lots of parts of Europe are just sort of quarantined, and that's kind of funny just to see how the rest of the world is just like, yeah, we're living and the world's fine, and you guys are just quarantining. Sucks to be you guys. So yeah, a lot of interesting things are going on in this film, especially with how time has passed since the last film, what happened to the location, why our characters are in the area they're at, how are they living, how are they going day by day, and what they're going to do to defend themselves against these zombies, especially how these zombies have evolved and learned over time. And there's definitely a lot of interesting factors with the zombies, such as, yeah, how they evolved, how they're staying alive, what they're doing to stay alive, because there is a point brought up in one of the earlier films where, yeah, how long does it take for them to starve? And we see how the zombies are able to keep themselves alive over time by like eating worms in the ground or just chasing down animals in the wild. So it's interesting, especially with another factor that I won't bring up because it's a spoiler, but it also raises more questions, especially with rules brought up in other movies. But maybe they'll touch on it later on with the sequels. And I'm not all too excited for the sequels just because I wasn't super hot on this film. And I think it's the pacing too, because it is a very rather slow burn movie. And like I said, I wish it was more of a fun mixture of the first and second half, but I think it had to be slow. And there are a lot of sort of ethereal moments that I like in this film. And I wish it was a lot of that, because there are a lot of moments like that in the first film, 28 Days Later. But alas, it is a very different film in tone and presentation. And I like that it's different, but I just wasn't super hot on this film like a lot of other people are. I don't know, maybe rewatching it in the future, I will like it more, but I'm not gonna rush to it. I think it's a pretty good movie. I'm just not super hot on it. I'm giving 28 Years Later a B. I like it. I'm just not super hot on it, and I'm not all too excited for the sequels, but I am gonna watch them just to see what happens, because there are a lot of interesting points brought up, and I want to see how they play out in the future. Especially with, I think, Nia DaCosta directing the next film, 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. Yeah, Nia DaCosta, who worked on... She was the director of The Marvels, a film that I think she did a good job with. It just needed a better script. So I'm interested to see with how she will handle the next film, and I think Danny Boyle is going to direct the third movie in this trilogy. I'm not quite sure how that's working. Yeah, he's gonna direct the final film in the trilogy, and I'm interested in why that's the case. Why they're doing a sort of Star Wars with it. JJ directed the first one, and the second director's taking a second one. Then JJ came back for the final one. Although the circumstances are much different there. I'm interested in why that's the case here. Maybe the Bone Temple is going to be sort of a spin-off or a prequel, more focusing on Ralph Fiennes' character with that specific element in this film. I'm not sure. But anyways, I like the film. I'm just not super hot on it. And maybe I'll like it when I watch it again, but I'm not rushing to that. Also, I did want to mention one thing that kind of irked me with this movie. The ending is kind of wonky and bizarre and just sort of out of place. I don't know. Very totally different from anything in these movies. But I did see someone say that Power Rangers ass ending. And I was wondering how that was going to play out and what that led to. It was very foreshadowed by the very beginning of the film, where a character looks at a Power Rangers toy. But what bothered me is that if these characters were sectioned off from the rest of the world at a certain point in time, there's no reason this character should have that very specific toy, that very specific Power Ranger line, because that the TV show wasn't brought to outside of Japan at that point yet. I don't know. It kind of irked me, being a stupid Power Rangers fan. But anyways, that's outside of it. So anyways, what did you think about 28 Years Later? Did you like it? Did you love it like a lot of people did? Or did you just think it was fine? I'm curious about your thoughts. Tell me what you thought about it in the comments below, and I'll be back with more enjoyable content like this. So yeah, bye.